The function f is given by f of x equals 2x cubed minus 4. We show that the inverse of f of 50 equals 3. So to do that, what I'm going to do is I'm going to replace f of x here with x. So I'm going to say x equals 2. And I'm going to replace x with y. Y cubed minus 4. So our challenge here is we need to rearrange it to get y to be the subject. So I'm going to add 4 to both sides. We're going to have x plus 4 equals 2y to the power of 3. If I now divide both sides by 2, we're going to get y to the power of 3 equals x plus 4 divided by 2. And now if we cube root both sides, we're going to get y equals the cube root of x plus 4 divided by 2. Okay, from that, we can say we're going to replace y with inverse f of x like that. So that equals, and we're going to keep this x like this is in here. So it's going to be the cube root of x plus 4 divided by 2. Therefore, now we're going to replace x with 50 because that's what we subbed into the function. So we're going to have, again, the cube root of 50 plus 4 divided by 2, which equals the cube root of 54 divided by 2, which equals the cube root of 27. Now to work out what the cube root of 27 is without a calculator, we need to think about what cubed equals 27. And if you think about that for a bit, hopefully you can get that that's 3. 3 times 3 times 3 is 27. Therefore, the cube root of 27 is 3. And if we have a look back into the question, what it wanted us was to show that it equals 3. So we've done that, we got it spot on. So get our first mark over here for working out inverse f of x. And second mark here for using that to show that inverse f of 50 equals 3. The functions g and h are given by g of x equals x plus 2 and h of x equals x squared. Part B says we need to find the values of x for which h of g of x equals 3x squared plus x minus 1. So h of g of x is basically saying we got the function h, and within the function we're going to do g of x. So essentially we carry out g of x first and feed that into h and then carry out that function. So what's that going to equal? So g of x is x plus 2 and we're feeding that into h. So that is going to be h of x plus 2, which equals, okay, so h of x is x squared. So instead of x, what we've got here is x plus 2. So we're going to replace x with x plus 2, giving us, if we have a look up here, okay, so it's x squared here. So it's going to be x plus 2 squared here. So therefore, what we worked out is h of g of x equals x plus 2 squared. Okay, so we need to find the values of x, which this equals this. So what we're going to do is set them equal to each other. So, okay, so x plus 2 squared equals 3x squared plus x minus 1. So what we've now got with this is an equation. Now if we solve the equation, we'll get the values for x, that this is true. Okay, so firstly, to make it a bit easier, I'm going to expand the bracket on the left-hand side. Because essentially what this is, x plus 2 squared, is two brackets next to each other, x plus 2 multiplied by x plus 2. So you can expand it like we would any other brackets. So we're going to do x multiplied by x, giving us x squared, x multiplied by 2, giving us 2x, 2 multiplied by x, again giving us 2x, and then 2 multiplied by 2, giving us 4. And here we can tidy it up, so our 2x and 2x, take that into 4x. Okay, and on the right hand side that still equals 3x squared plus x minus 1. Now we're going to collect like terms to get an equation equaling 0. Now what I'm going to do, I'm going to get everything on this side, purely because I want to have a positive coefficient of x squared. So if we subtract x squared from both sides, we'll have 4x plus 4 equals 2x squared plus x minus 1. Next, if we subtract 4x from both sides, we'll get 4 equals 2x squared. We got 1x minus 4x, so that will give us minus 3x. And then we're still going to have the minus 1 here. Now, so we're going to subtract 4 from both sides. So on the left, we're going to have 0. On the right, still 2x squared minus 3x. And minus 1 minus 4, giving us minus 5. Amazing. So this is the equation that we've now got to solve. Now you can use any method you want, so a quadratic formula, completing the square. What I'm going to do is I'm going to factorize this. So essentially what that is taking this quadratic from being in an expanded form and pushing it into brackets like this. So you think about what numbers to put in. Okay, so I'm firstly going to think about our first terms here. And because we've got a 2x squared here, I know that in the first part here, we're going to have 2x and we're going to have x here. Because 2x multiplied by x gives us 2x squared. So the terms put in here are a little bit more tricky to work out. But after you've played around with some pairs which multiply together to give -5, we'll work out that -5 and +1 are our pairs that we need to go in here. Because now if we expand out these brackets, we're going to get 2x squared by look at these terms here. Then we're going to have 2x multiplied by 1, so plus 2x, minus 5x multiplied by x, minus 5x, minus 5 times by 1, minus 5, is going to equal 0. So we're going to have 2x squared, and if we collect these terms together, we're going to get minus 3x, and we're going to have minus 5 here again. And if we have a look, this matches up perfectly to this. So we've now got this term and this term spot on. There are lots of other resources online to help you learn about factorising quadratics, so if you want a bit of extra help, it's worth checking those out. So what we've got here is a product of two brackets equaling 0. And for two things multiplied together to equal 0, we know that at least one of the brackets here has to be 0. So look at this bracket, we say, okay, let's imagine this bracket is the one that's 0. That will mean we've got 2x minus 5 equals 0. So if we rearrange that, add 5 to both sides and divide by 2, we'll get x equals 5 over 2. Let's have a look at this one. If we imagine this is a bracket that's 0, we've got x plus 1 equals 0. So rearranging that, we get x equals minus 1. And then we have it, our two values for x. So our possible values, which h of g of x equals 3x squared plus x minus 1, is x equals 5 over 2 and x equals minus 1. So we get our first mark up here. So for working out that in general, h of g of x equals x plus 2 squared. We got our second mark here. So for setting these quadratics equal to each other and then going through the process of expanding it out. And then we get our third mark for going through solving this quadratic that we've created. And we get the final mark for the correct answer of x equals 5 over 2 and x equals minus 1.